So, but I did still want to, like, I don't know, sorry. Yeah, so, like, I just wanted to, like, hi. Okay, I'm gonna edit that part out. It is, hi. I'm Vanessa, and, I kind of wanted to come and talk about a couple things. So, part of this is just about, like, um, how I got into tarot and what I feel my role is with the collectives that I feel drawn to be a part of. And also, so, but before I dive into that, I had another topic I wanted to talk about, and that's about the tower. So, like, for a few years now, well, probably for like, what are we, like, mid 2024? So it's been, I got into tarot like maybe almost 2 years ago, and um I've listened to quite a few people, but out of everybody, I would say like I follow like 20 to 30 people. Um, pretty. I don't want to be like I don't follow them like religiously to where like I watch everything they post. And some people I did follow them more back in the past when I was like really interested in that whole twin flame journey part. And I don't know if I would say that I just don't care about that part anymore, but I kind of don't, you know. Um I had one, and you know what, that person is just not there for me, and I deserve to be treated better and loved right. And you know, I just that person is not willing to be on a level. Like, they constantly criticize my style of communication, which is extremely stylized. Like, I don't talk and communicate like other people do, and um, that's just amazing, you know. And I feel like if somebody can't accept that, then why do I want? I don't care about this union stuff. You know, if you don't even like how I talk, like, what am I going to be criticized for the rest of my life if I get into a union with you because you don't like how wordy and verbose I am? I mean, I'm pretty loquacious, and that's just how I am. You know, take it or leave it. You know, if you don't like how I am, then leave me alone and get out of here. You know, jeez, just stop wasting my time. You know, why do I have to be the person who does everything and sacrifices everything and does all the nice stuff and says all the nice things to be treated like shit? No, thank you. So, anyways, so I don't follow some of those anymore. I do still follow some of them because while being interested in some of those, I mean, sorry, I'm not good at figuring out good camera angles for me yet. But anyway, so like, but there are a lot of readers that like, so like some of my gifts is like a clairvoyancy, but it's like a clear audience. So it's like clairvoyance that kicks in like when I hear things. And particularly it works a lot like when I hear people talking and or singing and or groups of people chanting stuff, like I can just like kind of tune into what's going on. And a gift that I didn't know that I had before I got into tarot was like if I listen to somebody reading tarot a lot, um so like you'll hear like readers, they'll talk about their collectives, right? And so, like, the collective is like everybody who's subbing in and regularly checking in and listening to these messages. These are the people who really like this reader, and they're like, okay, this is a person and they're really speaking to me. And I just really like the way that I either like their voice, the way that they communicate. I might like the way that they say. Like, for example, I have a certain reader that I just super adore, Neff the Oracle. And I mean, she's not the only one, but she's definitely one of my top favorites. You know, she always like starts off with like her little Soul Tribe song, and like her little commercial breaks, and always explaining stuff to people. And like, she'll be like doing a read, and like when something is just like too much, she'll just like, can we just like have a moment to talk about this? You know, and so like, and I just really like how she'll take stuff that's like deeply spiritual and deeply emotional, but also will be like, yo, we're just gonna stop and talk about this, because in the real, like, the way this kind of behaviors is affecting people, like, what are you doing? Like, what did you think you were gonna get out of doing this? And it's like, let's all just stop and take a moment to look at like how we're behaving. Like like, what did you think? What did you expect? It's like, who told you this? Like, what makes you think that you're greater than God? Like, what makes you think that you can overpower or outsmart the, like, God himself? Like, he's he's the source of all things, and everything that dies and fades will one day return back to him. You know, everything that exists, like even things that are like, when people want to talk about evolution, and anything that exists with an evolutionary trait, he still made it in the beginning. He just made a lot of things with evolutionary traits because it's basically like a set it and forget it oven. It's like I don't have to go over there and keep checking my roast that's in the oven. It's like choosing to cook in your crock pot versus choosing to cook in your oven. Like, sure, I can put a beef roast in the roaster pan and cook it in the oven, slow cooked. But I can put that sucker in my crock pot with all the ingredients at the beginning and let it just cook for 6 to 8 hours. And if I want to do that, then I'm going to do that. And if people want to be all snooty and act like I'm not good at cooking roast because I want to like cook my roast in a crock pot versus like cooking it in the oven, you know, I feel like sometimes people are like, they just miss the forest for the trees. It's just like, yeah, but you're missing the point. He's still the source of all things. Like people talk about stuff like the Big Boom. It's like, yeah, because he sneezed and like entire galaxy came into being. What does that tell you? What, like, if he had to fart, that like there's like, now you have like comets that roam the universe. So I'm just saying that, like, the things that go on in the galaxy, like, our galaxy is not the only galaxy that exists. We're not the only planet of living beings that exists. And he's like the god of all of them. All of them at the same time. And so sometimes people will be like, well, how is he real then? Well, because he's not human, duh. He's energy. Like, he's an energy. He exists in a completely different matter or state of being. Like, there's a lot of spiritual beings and entities that exist in this world, and the average people are not going to see them or hear them or pick up on them at all, because, like, to be able to do that, you have to attune yourself to the supernatural. There are some cases where the supernatural chooses people, in which case you're going to be woken up to that in a much ruder way sooner than other people probably would. So, and so sorry if you've had to go through it that way, because it can be a little bit scary if you don't have time to get acclimated to it and you're just like thrown into the deep end. You're like, those parents who say, oh yeah, my kid's a great swimmer because when he was 5, I threw him into a big lake and he was either gonna like drown or learn how to swim. And so they learned how to swim. And so then, so it's kind of like sometimes that happens a little bit with spirituality. Um, you know, when supernatural experiences, But if you're lucky, sometimes you don't have to have the supernatural experiences too heavily before you wake up. So, but anyways, but digressing back to the topic. Okay. So and anyway, so like over time as I've listened, so like one of my gifts is that like when I listen to readers, if I really tap into somebody, first of all, and I apologize to people, but sometimes I think my energy really kind of like, if I show up and stuff, my energy for some reason, I don't know if it's just like a dominant energy or a magnetic energy, but it's kind of sort of starts to take over a little bit. And or people that have stuff to do with me will start showing up. And so I am sorry to a lot of collectives out there because there have been certain we'll just call them certain energies because I feel like to give them any more acknowledgement and or attention beyond that only encourages them to continue their reign of trolling and harassment of spiritual workers, they're just out there. You know what? Have you ever heard the saying that bad attention is better than no attention? So some of these people don't have really anything going on and they really kind of hate themselves. So um so like they engage in abusing the spiritual communication networks that exist out there, right? But anyway, so but my gift is like when I plug into I call it plugging in, or I'll call it dialing in. So I'll like dial in or tap into a reader who's like talking to the collectives, and then but my gifts is sort of like a spiritual switchboard for the Most High. So everything I see, hear, read, and all of that is like him absorbing also so everything I absorb, he absorbs also. So I myself am like a portal through which he interacts with humanity in a way of saying, I guess. I don't know if that's a good explanation. But so like when I listen to readers, I'm not just listening to read those cards. I'm actually listening to your voice and I am listening to your soul and I'm feeling your energy. So like I've had readers where like they seem nice enough and when I reach out to email them or get in the comments to talk about something, they'll just be like really dismissive and be like, "Oh yeah, okay, whatever it is, you know, you know, I know. I just look like some little white chick right out of nowhere. So I have a very unassuming nature about myself. So I'm probably not going to stand out and or seem very important to people usually. And I think it's like that way on purpose, because like I've been anointed and chosen since like I was in my mother's womb. But like if you think about being chosen, like just think about people like whenever you've seen like movies and shows that talk about like the Holy Grail, like people always miss the Grail because they're looking for something flashy and shiny and something that's blinging, you know. But Jesus was a humble person. He was a carpenter. So realistically, like his cup was probably they were at somebody else's house and he was just using whatever they had on hand. It was probably something simple, maybe something that somebody had donated or given to them as a thanks for some of the work that he's done. I mean, we look in the New Testament and you can read about the life of Jesus, but his ministry was for like 3 years. And we've only read like a handful of his miracles. I'm sure there was lots of other stuff he did that was never written about. I'm sure there's a lot of personal interaction and connection that he's had with lots of people that's also not recorded at all. Like those 4 books of the Gospels don't include literally. This is not a second by second playbook of his entire life. There's so much more that he's done and said in time that he spent with people. So of course through that time, since he had family and loved ones, I'm sure, it could have just been some cup that somebody gave him that he didn't even use all the time, but he had it there. And so they were they were doing their Passover thing, and he's like, okay, well, where's the cup? Well, we got this, get this. Okay. So, and so I kind of have a little bit of some of that in me as well, whereas like I just seem very plain and ordinary, and um, nothing that's going to make people think that there's anything um, different about me, even though I'm really, really different. Like, if you think that I'm like everybody else, because like a lot of people don't understand me very well and have a hard time relating to me, but that's because they're trying to relate to me like they relate to everybody else. And I'll tell everybody when they meet me, I'll be like, I'm not like the other people you know. And they just think I'm being like, uh, having self depreciating humor, instead of just like, I'm really not like other people. And then later on, when we get into situations where they're like, I just don't get why you're blah, 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 and it's like, well, yeah, because like I've been telling you since the very beginning that I'm not like other people, and you just don't listen to me or believe me or something, or you just think I'm just like the everybody else, and I'm not. I'm not like anybody else. And sometimes people think that that's me saying that I'm better than other people, and that's absolutely not what it is either. Like saying I'm different isn't. It's not better or worse. It's just different. Different is just different. That's like my son has autism, and so because that his autism makes him different doesn't mean that it makes him less than. He's not. He's not. Um, I mean, his autism does disable him a little bit and make his he's not able to operate through life like everybody else, but he's still a person who has value, and he has a great sense of humor, and he's a wonderful young man. And there's lots of good, like, if you know anybody who knows my son and you ask them what they think of him, they'll just be like, oh yeah, we love Naaman. So, like, you know, all right. So I know it's like I went way off on this tangent, right? Okay. So, but I'm gonna get back. I'm getting back to like the whole point, right? Okay. Sorry. I'm like putting my slipper back on because it came off while I'm talking about this. So like, um, so yeah. So like, but anyways, so like I have a gift that's sort of like a spiritual switchboard. So like when I'm listening to a reader, I'm not just listening to that reader. Like, I'm also in real time plugging in and dialing into everybody who's dialed into them. So then I end up finding it'll just happen through like, while I'm exploring, then I'll find other readers. And I feel like it's been led that way because a lot of these readers are actually prophets of the Most High God. Like, they're using tarot cards, but some of these people, they really don't need these cards. They're like, the Holy Spirit's already given them the word of the Lord, and they're giving it to you. I mean, it's really up to you what you do with it. That's like the same as like if you go to church and they give you a sermon and you didn't like how he put it, and or you thought it was a boring topic, so snooze. But like on the internet, when you're watching a YouTube video, you may like, oh, it's boring. Oh my God, this reader, I didn't like how they said this. I don't like they move their cards from left hand to right hand, or I don't like how they did this. I don't like that they're using more than one deck. I don't like that they're using oracle cards instead of just traditional tarot cards. I mean, you have all these people who just like pick stuff apart and they're just literally looking for literally any reason to invalidate anything that's been said, to prove that these people don't know what they're talking about, or to prove that these prophets are actually not prophets of God, and or looking for reasons to explain, wow, these people are just full of demons. Let's be honest, that's what this is, right? Okay. So this is I'm probably gonna have to make a part 2, because these only record in like a maximum of 30-minute segments. But like the other part that I really wanted to get to, and I started making this because I wanted to talk about the towers. So, like I've sat in on a lot of readings, and so people want to talk about a tower moment. And I feel like uh everybody, well, the people like see a tower and they'll be like, oh man, these karmics are getting a tower. And I mean, it can be something really bad that happens to people. And a lot of times sometimes when we get towers, it's like it is a karmic consequence of like not learning your lesson and or being a really disobedient person. So like if spirit's been like, you really need to go do this, and you're like, yeah, 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 I'll get to it, but you never got around to it, then spirit will be like, hey, I see you still haven't done that. Let's help put you back on track. Or spirit might be like, um, if you've been bullying somebody, spirit's gonna come by and be like, bro, you really need to leave this person alone. Because if you don't, we're gonna have to like apply this divine intervention, and it is not gonna be well with you. You're not gonna have a good time. Maybe stop. You know, so um, you know, anyways, so there's the tower card. So like, but the tower card, I feel like I just want to talk about towers because I feel like over the last like probably like 2 years, um like as I've been going through some of my own ascensions and having like some of my spiritual gifts waking up, I keep going through a lot of towers too. And I feel like tower moments are not always meant as just a punishment. This isn't always just something that's happening to you. A lot of times, towers can be something that is happening for you. And it's happening for you because I don't know if you're like me, like sometimes I get totally carried away and I'll be like, you know, I'll feel like the Holy Spirit, like, you need to do this. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I'm just like very hyperactive and get all caught up, and I'll be in the music and and I'll just like, just way too high strung. And then I'll be getting really carried away, and then I can't calm down. And it's so much stuff, right? Um, and so, like, if you want an example, like last year I had a thing where I got written up in the neighborhood I live in, and I had to replace my screens outside because they were like basically like, dude, your screens look like crap and you're making our neighborhood look like crap. So you need to replace these. So it was a little bit pricey, but it was something that it's like the timing of that was really ironic because I had actually been looking at the window screens for like 2 months and just kept putting off the screens, because that year I was like, if I fix these screens, I don't need to always have the air on. When it's cool days, I can just open up the window, don't have to run the AC, just let the nice air come in. Then it also like airs the house out, and we get some, get rid of, because like especially like if you during the winter months and you're not opening your doors and windows, you probably have stuck energy in your house, and opening up all the windows and letting the air in and out is a really simple way to kind of help stir up stuck energy. And so towers come into our life to redirect us. And maybe you're supposed to be learning a lesson and you're being stubborn and hard headed. And this tower has come to be like, bro, wake the fuck up. Okay. Like, spirit is really trying to get through to you because if you don't stop, there's like that verse where it talks about like because we're so disobedient that God will give us up to the desires of our heart. So there is a time where it's like he's forgiving and he loves you, but if he keeps asking you to stop doing that thing, if he keeps asking you to go do this other thing and you refuse, it's like you can refuse, but also like at the end of that, there will come a point where he's like, okay, well, we're just going to leave you to your own devices because you're committed to having this experience. So if you're just like too addicted to whatever this is and you can't separate so that you can like learn your lesson, then so be it. If you're so committed to your wickedness, if you are so committed to bullying other people and engaging in this attempts to like unalive people and create chaos and just to be a problem for the sake of being a problem because you think it makes you edgy and cool and makes you so wishy, makes you feel like, oh, now I have a purpose in my life and I don't feel like a great big pile of garbage. So like, I mean, then whatever, you're going to get that tower and that tower is coming into your life to help get you back on track because you're not listening. So if you listen to your discernment and you allow the spirit to, come and talk to you and tell you, the Lord has this to say to you. Yeah, like you have free will and you can say no, but having free will does not protect you from the consequence of your own choices. And that is the basic message, towers, we all can get towers. Like you can 100% be a prophet of the Most High God. You can be on your stuff doing the work, but maybe he wanted you to do a certain thing and maybe you didn't feel ready, so you were like, yeah, I'm not gonna do it yet, or I don't want to do it that way. Or maybe he's like, you need to go talk to this person, and you're like, oh, I don't like this person, right? So so he's gonna redirect you to go help you learn how to be obedient. That's what it is, and if you don't want to be obedient, then you're not going to be chosen and anointed because he's not going to waste his anointing on people who won't listen and won't obey. That's how it works. That's how it works. That's how it works. So thank you for listening to my spiritual talk about towers, and maybe I'll do another one that talks about like readers I like and my other personal thoughts about certain cards and all that. So it is Wednesday night, so happy middle of the week. 2 days from the weekend. Yay. Bye.